Good day, YouTube. I'm Southern Wolverine, back to you from Kerbal Space Center. This is Operation Laythe, episode 31, I believe. And last episode, we began building the vehicle or assembling rather, we'd already designed it. We began assembling all the boosters to the vehicle that's going to take our space plane out to Laythe. And now, before I put all the remaining boosters on, I do want to get the space plane up there. But before I do that, I want to do one more shakedown run and test its final handling characteristics after the various minor modifications I've made, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and do that and then get it out into space. Alright, let's set the right flag. For some reason that resets every time. Alright, so this looks pretty much like what you have seen before if you watched the episode where I developed this. I have added a few features which I think I'll just go ahead and get out onto the runway and show you. Because that will be more interesting that way. So we got a few action groups set up and things like that. So the first one is brakes. We have brake lights. All I did, I changed the hue of the landing gear lights for these, aftmost gear, the main landing gear, and then linked that to the group that turns on the brakes. So we have brake lights. Also on action group set here, we have navigation lights. So we got the red and the green navigation lights. And I've got another group set up to activate these two big lights, powerful spotlights, and the forward landing gear light. And I turned this around so that that light would face forward, and those will be my landing lights. So if I end up landing in the dark, or at the very least I can see the light shining on the surface that I'm hitting, because I obviously won't have a nice clean runway to land on. So that'll give us something to work with. Also, you heard the little hiss. That was my action group test for being able to toggle this engine manually back and forth between closed cycle and air breathing. I may want to do that at a moment's notice, so we'll do that. And in the meantime, I'll leave automatic switching on. Before I do anything else, let's go ahead and deactivate the brakes. Check our flight control surfaces. We got Jeb, our test pilot guy, in here, and we're ready to give this some flight testing. Alright, you notice I had some parachutes on here at one point. I went ahead and took them off as they didn't actually work. And when I landed and deployed them, they actually hit the runway and brake, and they don't really do anything for you. Alright, so let's do a... Come on, brake free. There we go. Do a check. See what our takeoff speed is. I figure it at around 40 meters per second. So I'm going to try to pitch up 43. Alright, so it's closer to 55 or 60. Perhaps I can take some of the oxidizer out of these tanks, because I won't need all that oxidizer. It does climb nicely. I'm assuming here that conditions on Laythe will be somewhat similar to on Kerbin. We'll probably have a slightly less dense atmosphere, so it'll mean less drag, but it'll also mean less lift, so we're not quite sure how that trade-off is going to happen. What I do want to test here is low speed, low altitude, low throttle flight characteristics, because on our approach to Laythe we want to be burning as little fuel as possible. Now we're going to probably have to land powered in order to maintain control as we approach. So, see, this is actually turning pretty quickly. I'm having to kind of feather it so that it doesn't lose stability. We don't want to get too far. We don't want to get the nose pointing too far away from our velocity vector and spin around and do unfortunate things. And let's actually see if we can even lose some more of this throttle and still maintain control. Because I'd like to be able to land. We took off at right around 16 meters per second. It looks like we can maintain stable flight at about that same speed too. Ooh, and you pitch up and that's dropping even more. Ooh, very nice. Can I still maneuver? Ooh, whoa, whoa, it started to get away from me a little bit. We can move and maneuver a little bit. If I have to do any hardcore maneuvering at at speed, I might just have to throttle up a bit. Now at half throttle, I should regain control pretty readily. Uh, Okay, well that's good information to know. It'd be nice if we could land this a little slower. Let me turn this around, and we'll practice landing this in a small space. I think I'll try to land it like right in this gap, in between the aircraft hangar and the vehicle assembly building. So let's just get this turned around. Nice tight turn, nice tight turn. Ooh, don't lose control. Let's keep the nose up. We're gonna have to keep the nose up, keep a high angle of attack in order to generate lift at these low speeds. Okay, bringing the nose around. Alright, let's see if we can land that accurately and on a short field with a heavy aircraft like this. Now, if it were landing light, we would have better characteristics, I think, because we would be able to stop faster. We would need less lift, things like that. So let's go ahead and put the gear down. Let's turn on the landing lights. See there how they're lighting up the ground, even at, you know, a fair height, you know, dozens of meters at least above the ground. All right, we'll just drop the throttle way down. Now, I don't want to land early because I'm practicing precision landing here, because this could be a cliff or water or something that we're landing at the edge of. All right, now we're going to cut the throttle, put the nose down, brake, 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 brake. Whoa, no, 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 no. Ah. Whoa, that was close. All right. All right, we landed on a pretty short field. I mean, the distance here to here, that's only a couple hundred meters. So we can find a fairly small flat spot to land this on. The landing lights seem to be pointed reasonably well. Looks like we got something that has some potential here. Okay, so we'll just recover that, head back to the hangar, and get this bad boy out into space. Now we're going to have to assign it a crew, and this is just going to be a shuttle crew to get it out there. We'll assign Bill. Jeb's done his job test piloting this. We'll assign Bill to take it out. Yeah, okay, so here we go. Well, let's just do this thing. Excuse me, it's pollen season here in Savannah, and well, I never used to have allergy problems in Detroit, but it's just so damn thick here come springtime. Kind of congested, so if I sound a little funny in this recording, that's probably why. Alright. Lift, lift, lift. Come on, baby. You can do it. Oh, I launched with a full oxidizer load. Oh, well. We'll just go with it. I think before I go down to Laythe, I'll empty at least, you know, half the oxidizer out of these tanks so that I can land a little bit lighter. Because I won't need all of that oxidizer. Obviously, a portion of my liquid fuel is going to go to operating the Rapier in, what do they call it, air breathing mode. Alright, so here we go. Just taking the space plane out. Getting the job done. Okay. However, these launches do take a fair bit of time, and you've seen me do this already. You know, at least once or twice, I think. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording, get this into orbit, and catch back up with you guys in just a moment. Alright, we had our launch, and here's our space plane on its final approach into the rock. Now, what am I doing here, you might ask? This is not where I'm building up the Laythe mission. Well, no, it's not. But this is the current home of the Kerbonaut that I intend to send out to Laythe. We are going to go and grab Mr. Bob Kerman back from command of the rock and put him in charge of the Laythe mission. This will be the crowning achievement of his rock collection if he can get out to Laythe and get some of those rocks and bring them home. I say if. When he does such a thing. However, I've got to get around to the other side of the station so I can get onto that port and refuel the vehicle. Then have Bill EVA over to the command station and go ahead and get Bob into his new home for the next several years. These missions to Jewel and its moons are long affairs. Maybe it won't be years, but it will certainly be months. And let me, whoa, yeah, see, the landing lights are quite powerful. Actually, don't really need those. Come on. Alright, nice and easy. Actually, don't really need the RCS for this part. Thought I turned you guys off. There we go. What did I do? Did I hit the wrong button? Oh well. Okay, so we're going to set that forward as our target. We're in about the right orientation, so we'll just lock our orientation down and go on and maneuver down to that port. Now, the good news is this this maneuvers quite well under RCS. It's actually quite easy to control. Let's get this into chase camera just to make sure we're not spinning around doing unusual things. Let's also furthermore make sure that we're actually remember to open this docking clamp. Open the shield. Come on, Bill. You know the drill. Looks like our pitch is ever so slightly off. And we'll yaw ever so slightly to the right. Now that should get us online pretty well. So let's turn fine controls on, because I'm over-maneuvering as I'm docking here. Come on, we want to get this in one. Nice and clean. Nice and clean. Come on, Bill. Nail it, nail it. How's that look? How's it look? Yeah, come on, come on. Stick it. Stick. Yeah, that's right. Cool. Okay. Let's see, so where... Alright, let's go ahead and get you out of here, Bill. Go ahead and let go. RCS you over to here. Actually, do we have any extra spots for him to hang out? We got some space in the hitchhiker module, I should think. Let's go ahead and get him in there. Go on and board, and we'll get our man Bob out of here. Release RCS on. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, settle down there, Bob. I know you're excited. He thinks he's going home. We haven't told him yet. Shh. Everybody be quiet. We're sending you someplace very much like home. Board. There we go. Okay. Alright, so let's continue to control from here and get all the fuel transferred over. Fortunately, we have just piles and piles of fuel. Transfer some RCS fuel over. Top off the capsule monopropellant as well, even though there's not a whole lot contained there. Might as well top it off. Get all our fuel. We'll top off all the tanks, although I think I'll drain... I've been talking about the oxidizer in these side tanks. I think I'll drain it completely out. Because I found when I was launching heavy like that, with oxidizer in those outboard tanks, it kind of became a problem. It's just the vehicle's almost too heavy with all that fuel in there. So we'll launch it as light as I think we can get away with. Which means we're going to launch with as little oxidizer in these outboard tanks as we can manage. By which I mean we'll drain it and we'll just use that in the center tank. So we could really have kept kept that in there. Or kept those as jet fuel tanks instead of rocket fuel tanks. That was one of my various design changes. But for now we'll fill it up, because we'll carry it with us on our mission. And we can always transfer it into the vehicle if we don't want it. Who knows, it might come in handy. We got nothing but just gobs of fuel. Gobs and gobs of fuel in this Kerbal, etc. tank of awesome, like, ridiculous capacity. Alright. Okay, so then the next stage of the mission here is to get this vehicle away from the space station, drop it back down to the orbit with all this fuel we've just transferred. That should be no problem whatsoever. Drop it back down to the level of our assemblage of parts that is becoming our interplanetary mission, and dock it up. Alright, so once again I'm going to go ahead and skip the rendezvous procedure. Go ahead and detach here. Undock. Undock. Alright, quick burst of the RCS to back us away from the station. Turn regular controls back on. We'll just leave that port open. And I'm going to go ahead, plot a course down to our Laythe vehicle, which is right there. Actually, we're in decent position right now. Probably. So we'll go ahead and catch back up to you when I have got that encounter ready to go for docking. Alright, and we're back. We're about a minute out from our close approach to our transfer vehicle. And getting prepared. Whoa, over maneuver. Getting prepared for our docking. We're coming at this fairly quickly. So it's going to be a reasonably substantial burn. 140 meters per second or so in order to bring this thing into, you know, zero relative velocity. So I'm thinking right about now. That should slow us down pretty fast. So there we go. Okay, let's throttle down. There it is. I love how when you're approaching at speed and you just sort of like go from a dot off in the distance to a full-size spaceship ridiculously quickly. It's almost like those ships in Star Wars or something like that, you know, come out of hyperspeed or something like that, and just whoosh, suddenly they're there. It's not quite like that, but of course at 100 meters per second, you close on something pretty darn quick. So now I'm just going to maneuver the rest of the way in on RCS. Which with this vehicle, the RCS goes quite a long way in terms of maneuvering it effectively. Alright. Yeah, let's pick up a little bit of speed. We're going way too slow. Standard procedure, fast forward and close to it. Now the docking procedure is going to be a little bit different. Same idea, except we're just going to have to go past and kind of come back up at it. Because, well, we got to get this oriented so the wings are going to clear everything when it comes in. And we want the fins, the tail fins up towards here, so that we're going to be done with maneuvering them around the other parts of the vehicle. And we will only have to... Whoa, what's the throttle on? Oh, that shouldn't have been on. No. Accidentally touched the throttle controls a little bit there. That was a mistake. That could have been a disaster. Fortunately, I barely tapped him, so we didn't get a whole lot of throttle going there. We got plenty of monopropellant on this thing for what we need to do. It's nice and light. Even fully laden with fuel, it's relatively light. So let's make sure I'm coming in low enough here. Looks like I should have plenty of room. Oh yeah, I should be able to slide underneath those engines quite easily. Now I'm not sure, I didn't really do a fit check of all this stuff on the ground. So I'm not entirely sure how close those vertical fins, the vertical tails, will actually come to the boosters. I'm a little bit concerned about that. Could actually force us to go back for a redesign if that doesn't work. Alright, let's go to Fine Controls. It looks like we'll be okay, because it looks like they're going to come in between these two. So their spacing, their height may or may not be good, but their spacing should mean they work out just fine. Let's go ahead and target that docking port. Didn't really change much of anything. Okay, I'm going to traverse just a little bit down. Let's try to keep some distance from these. Now you see I did come up and off camera bring up a second booster, because I only did one of those in the previous episode. But I figured we'd already done it. I didn't feel a need to show the same exact thing over and over again. But I do want to get the spaceplane on here before I bring these other two in. Let's go to the chase camera. There we go. Now it'll stop doing weird stuff on me. I wanted to get the plane on here before I brought the other two tanks in. First of all, just to make sure that these fins would fit. And second, so I don't want to try to bring this in with all four of the tanks on. Although, as maneuverable, that's not even a word, as maneuverable as this is, I probably could have flown this through the sort of trench, the gauntlet created by the four tanks, but I really didn't want to take that chance, risk nicking the wings, knocking off any number of little components on this, or of damaging the space plane or the booster thrusters and things like that. So we're going to put this on, and then we're going to come back with the other pieces and complete this. And those I will do at least the docking probably on camera, but in the next episode. Oh, I love that. Get the red lighting on the other side and the green lighting on the other one. That's brilliant. That's the simple things like that sometimes that I enjoy. Just putting the little navigation lights on there. A little bit of a touch from the real world that gives it just a little bit of flavor. And I do like that addition in this where you can make the lights different colors. And like you saw, the brake lights, of course, are red, which, you know, is consistent with standard practice, at least here on Earth. Perhaps on Kerbal they would be green, and Go would be, who knows. And we have a nice hard dock. Okay, well, looks like we would have had plenty of space. Probably could have flown that in there even with the other tanks on there. But now the other tanks can come in from this side, dock up, and then, so it'll be 3 more launches. The 2 more boosters, and 1 more to refuel the little bit of fuel that the boosters and the space plane expended, and then we're good to go. Actually, I'm going to go ahead. We are now a spacecraft, not a plane, so we can go ahead and deactivate the navigation lights. And before I forget, I'm going to get out of my way, darn it. I'm going to deactivate the Rapier engine, because I don't want that accidentally firing up while I'm trying to do other things. I'm also going to deactivate the monopropellant. Of course, that one's empty anyway, but just so it's there. I may have to reset that when I reload the vehicle. I'll have to just check on that. And I want to disable cross feed here, because I don't want fuel being pulled out of this up into the rest of the vehicle. Of course, we can just refuel it before it detaches when it gets to Laythe, but I'll just prevent that from happening, and we won't have to worry about it. Alright, so there we go. That's that's starting to look like a thing. Man. Oh, look at Bob. Bob's actually happy for once. He's usually scared out of his mind, but he's quite pleased with the situation. He's like, ooh, I attached to a big rocket. I must be going someplace fun. You have no idea, Bob. You have no idea. But in any case, that'll be the end of this episode, I think. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please go ahead and hit the like button on the video. Comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And for now, I will call it a day. I am Southern Wolverine, up in orbit with Bob Kerbal, wishing you a good day.